Hi everyone and welcome to today's live. I'm Sally Garozzo and this is the place to be to get inspiration and motivation to make those lifestyle interventions that are going to help you look after your mental health and help at menopause, especially during lockdown. So I help perimenopausal women, just like you, go from feeling anxious, lost and confused to clarity, calm, and that feeling of connectedness. And I do this through a powerful 2-hour process that's done under hypnosis called rapid transformational therapy combined with coaching. So thank you very much for joining me today. If you are watching live, do say hi. If you're catching the replay, just pop replay in the comments and remember to get involved. Ask me some questions if you would like to. And please watch to the end because, as always, I am saving the best till last. So for the next few weeks or months, I'm going to be running lives under a different concept. And the concept is menopause, mental health and isolation. And the reason I'm doing this is because I am getting asked more mental health questions than I am menopause questions at the moment. So I thought now would be a good time to highlight the mindset, the mental health aspect of menopause, and of course weaving in some of the menopausal hormonal issues as well. So do let me know if you are watching. Let me know if you can hear me. I'm just going to double check that I've got the right mic working, so that's good. So it was a lovely lady called Nessie, I think that's her name, who asked me about the subject of sleep. And she said to me, so this is more of a menopausal thing, but I'm going to weave it into the isolation thing that we're all going through at the moment. So Nessie said, why do I find it hard to sleep a few days before my period? And there's a reason for that. And a lot of women do suffer with not being able to sleep just before their period and during their period as well. And this tends to be because progesterone tends to lower around this time. So progesterone is a soporific hormone, which basically means sleep-inducing hormone. And when it declines, we don't have as much of it. So the stress hormones tend to be higher than those nice soporific hormones. So it's really all about making sure that you've got good lifestyle interventions in place so that your progesterone, or to help your progesterone. So for example, no food contains progesterone, but there are certain foods that will help your body make its own progesterone. So foods like beans, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, the cruciferous type of vegetables, cauliflower, kale, nuts, pumpkin, spinach and whole grains, preferably the brown grains. So some foods are also associated with lowering the amount of estrogen in the body, which could increase the ratio of progesterone to estrogen. And these include bananas, cabbage, shellfish and walnuts. So I got this from the Health Online website. But yeah, looking at your diet, what you don't want to do is binge on all of those things, but generally you want to make sure that you are increasing a little bit those foods and making sure that you have a varied diet really. So other ways to make sure that your progesterone stays nice and high is to make sure that you maintain a healthy body weight. Not too high, not too low. Don't over exercise, but get enough exercise. And you want to make sure that you are keeping your stress levels good. So reducing stress. And I'm going to be talking about this quite a lot. So working on ways to increase your progesterone. I mean, you could look at HRT. You can take oral HRT. You can take oral progesterone. And for some women who are really debilitated by insomnia, then it can be recommended to take progesterone to help their sleep until they've got their lifestyle a bit more sorted. You know, maybe they just need a little bit of a time window to help with the diet, to help with the nutrition, to help with the lifestyle, to help with managing emotions, to help clearing out the past, you know, all of that stuff. If a massive lifestyle overhaul is required, then you might need to buy yourself some time, and in which case it's important to make sure that you have that window of time. And HRT can offer you that window of time. So you don't have to be on it forever, but you can be on it just to help yourself, as a sort of boat to get you to the other side, really. And when you do take progesterone in the evening, you take it in the evening, it gives you that nice floppy feeling, and it does help you to sleep better. So, but we mustn't ignore the diet and lifestyle stuff as well. So sleep is hugely important. And sleep can become really, really difficult, especially in isolation. And the reason it becomes difficult in isolation is because we can be all up in our heads, especially if we're not moving around enough. We need movement to disperse energy through the body. But if we're all up in our heads, perhaps we're not having the change of scenery that we normally have. Perhaps we're not interacting with the people that we normally interact with. So everything gets blocked here. Everything gets kind of stuck all up here. We become tense. We become blocked. We become locked. And when the energy is all up here, it's really hard to shut that down. And you just check the temperature of yourself. If the back of your neck is really hot, that means you've got a lot of energy up here. And if your feet are really, really cold, that means there's no energy in the bottom half of your body. And by energy, I just mean blood, really. So that's why getting your body moving is going to help disperse the energy. It's going to help take the energy out of your head and put it into your feet. So, that's why sleep can become difficult in isolation, because we tend to be a bit more stagnated and we're not having those usual outlets. And also what tends to happen is perhaps we're becoming a little bit more fraught, especially if we're with our kids, we're with our loved ones. Maybe we're with a partner day in, day out, and we're not used to having a partner with us day in, day out. Maybe we're living with a parent for the time being, and maybe things are getting a little bit tense within that relationship. So and that tension can really disturb your sleep. I know for me, I can't sleep properly if I've had an argument with my partner and it's unresolved. I'll be tossing and turning, I'll be sulking in my sleep, or there'll be something going on here in the sort of solar plexus area that's really stopping me from sleeping. They say, don't they, never go to bed on an argument. So that's really, really important. And learning better ways to communicate are going to help you with relational issues during this time if you're struggling with sleep around menopause or around isolation. So what I'm finding from my clients at the moment is that lockdown is kind of revealing what's already there, because there are no distractions. So it's revealing the sort of baseline state. If you remove all of the distractions and the addictions and everything, you reveal what's already there, and that might not look great, especially if you've got baggage. So it's revealing the baggage, it's revealing the programming, it's revealing the frustrations, it's revealing the resistance to what is, it's revealing anger, perhaps it's revealing sadness, it's revealing all of that undealt with baggage. So in that sense, it is a good opportunity for us to do the inner work. But if we're in menopause, we're getting a double whammy as well, because, or if we're in perimenopause, we've got declining sex hormones. And when we're younger and we have our progesterone and estrogen, that masks the baggage, the stuff that we've not dealt with. And so we're in isolation right now. If we don't have our usual distractions and we have a decline in our sex hormones, it's a potentially challenging time, because you're being faced with yourself and there's nowhere to escape. You can't just meet someone for coffee. You can have a Zoom call, but it's not the same. You're not getting that change of scenery. And I think, looking at, was it Nelson Mandela that was in isolation for 27 years? Perhaps looking at his story looking at some of the lessons that he learnt in isolation will be really, really useful for us, perhaps who are struggling at this time. So I've got no, I haven't. I've got way more than that. I've got about 6 plus some bonuses, sleeping tips for you. But before I go into that, I just want to explain why sleep is so important. So when we sleep, there's not nothing going on, right? There's a lot going on. We are being so productive when we sleep. That's why it's so important to have a good night's sleep. And we all know how it feels not to sleep well. We know the mood swings, the grogginess, the irritability, the brain fog, all of that. So we know that we need sleep. When we sleep, the brain detoxifies itself, which is why when we wake up with clarity, all right? And that's why when we go to sleep, we can't, the cognitive output really goes to a minimum in the evening. We can't, we're a bit, we start hallucinating because the brain is clogged up with these plaques, a bit like plaque in your teeth. So the brain detoxifies itself of that plaque at nighttime. We get blood supply to the muscles for increased repair. That's why when you exercise, you exercise you exercise and then you go to sleep and you wake up achy, but then the next day and then the day after you wake up and it's not as achy. So that's because during sleep your muscles are getting a repair job. They're going into the garage. Energy is restored. You wake up with your batteries full. And this is, in Chinese medicine, this is a kidney function. Hormones are released. You get growth hormone, which is repairing all of your tissue. Information that we've absorbed consciously during the day is traveling down the analytical brain, going into the subconscious, getting stored into the memories. That's why we dream. That is what dreaming is all about. We need our dreams. It's our brain, our subconscious mind doing the number crunching. When the conscious mind goes offline in sleep, the subconscious mind sort of takes over, and that's why everything is very weird, because the subconscious mind is the only language the subconscious mind really understands are sort of pictures and metaphor and feelings. That's why we get these like weird metaphors in dreams are symbolic, aren't they? So yeah, we get those weird sort of things, that those weird metaphors that create certain feelings and emotions within us, because that part of the brain is quite switched on, and we need it to be. We need to dream. That's why when we don't sleep very well, we can't think very clearly. We're all a bit confused. We actually lose weight in our sleep. So when you wake up in the morning, you've got a nice flat tummy, or flatter, right? And then through the day, it sort of grows. So that's because we actually lose weight in our sleep. And if we don't sleep, we put weight on. Our immune system gets a boost when we sleep. Our appetite is balanced when we sleep. So there's a lot going on when we sleep. And I have had, I speak from first-hand experience. I've had, over the last 3 years, had a significant amount of insomnia, and really, really learnt what it's been all about, learnt how to clear out the subconscious blocks, had quite a lot of RTT for it, really looked into the whole mindfulness aspect, and really sort of studied how I can make my sleep better. And now I sleep like an absolute princess. Not the princess and the pea. I can't think of the metaphor. I sleep like a log. So, yes. Some of the things that can keep us awake, of course, during perimenopause are the night sweats. And I will be addressing this, but the essence is really, to help minimize night sweats, we want to look at blood sugar. We want to make sure that we're working at stabilizing our blood sugar, and we want to work at minimizing stress. And really, if you do have a night sweat, don't let it traumatize you too much. I know the first time I woke up having a night sweat, I was absolutely beside myself. I thought I was dying. I thought I had some kind of fever. But yeah, I still get night sweats occasionally, maybe about 2 or 3 times a week, but I don't really let it bother me too much. Yes, it wakes me up. Yes, I go and mop myself up, but I don't have a panic over it. and I just get back to sleep again. So, it really is about making sure that you're not overreacting to these night sweats, and that you're doing everything that you can during the day to balance your hormones, to make sure that your sex hormones are being prioritized, not your stress hormones. So, of course, one of the things that happened to me actually with sleep was the insomnia got so bad, I ended up getting obsessed with sleep, and it felt like a form of OCD where I was worrying about sleep all the time. It was always on my mind. So, that's not a very good place to be, because the more what you focus on grows. So if you're focusing on, oh my God, I can't sleep, you're going to get more of, oh my God, I can't sleep. So the trick is to sort of, not worry about sleep. It's hard. It's a hard pattern to break, but it absolutely is possible. So I'm just going to, before I go into my tips, I'm just going to see if there's anyone watching. Bear with me. Okay, good. Yes. Okay, so there's no quick fix solution to insomnia. Okay, it's really about stopping looking for that cure, that pill to take that's going to make you fall asleep. It's really about lifestyle medicine, all of this, and we need to try lots of different things. We need to try things out and then find out what works for us personally, and create like a bank of tools that we can use when we're a bit restless, when we're feeling that we're not sleeping as well. So in the Menopause Mindset Academy that I'm creating for you at the moment, there's going to be a massive section on sleep, and I'm going to give you all my hows. I'm not going to go too much into the whys, because you can read a book about the whys, but the hows are more important. So it's going to be very, very practical, but I'm going to give you a few of my hows here. And incidentally, a friend of mine read that book, Why We Sleep, and it freaked her out so much that she couldn't sleep. How ironic is that? So the whys, why we sleep, isn't always conducive to having a good night's sleep. So tip number 1 is sleep hygiene. Now, this is important, but I don't want you to get hung up on sleep hygiene. It's not all about sleep hygiene. Sleep hygiene is important, but it's not the be-all and end-all. Now, one of the things I will say about sleep hygiene is about clean sheets. Now, as we know in this group, everything is energy, right? So the clothes that you wear during the day carry the energy of that day. That's why energetically it's important to change your clothes every day, even though it creates more washing, which is pain, or at least every other day, right? So the same goes for our sheets. Our sheets hold this like energetic information of bygone nights. So if there's been a lot of insomnia, if there's been a lot of tossing and turning and a lot of frustration, your sheets will hold that vibrational energy. So it's so important to have fresh hay, as my partner calls it, in bed. So clean sheets, once a week if possible, once every 2 weeks maximum. Really change your sheets. Get the best quality bedding that you can afford, that you love, maybe Egyptian cotton or silk or bamboo, really lovely natural material. It goes without saying, buy the best bed that you can afford, make sure it's comfortable, and make sure you have blackout blinds, because when that little speck of light comes in, your cortisol will start and you will feel awake. So blackout blinds, maybe a sleep mask is going to be good for you. Now, along with another thing with sleep hygiene is the room has got to be cool. You need a cool room. The cooler, the better. Not freezing, obviously, because that's going to make you not sleep in itself. But think about how you can't sleep in the summer. When it's too hot, we can't sleep. So the reason for that is when your body temperature drops, your melatonin, which is the sleep hormone, increases. So if your room is nice and cool, if you've got a cool duvet over you, then it will help you sleep. And melatonin is a wonderful hormone. We need melatonin. It's a cycle regulator. It regulates our menstrual cycle. It improves our cognitive function. It enhances our mood. It helps with weight loss. And it also has cancer fighting properties. So we do need good night's sleep. We do need that good dose of melatonin. You can take melatonin supplements. And again, they are a good short-term solution. They're not the be-all and end-all, but even if it's like a placebo effect, then, you know, it's worth a try. I've been on 3 milligrams of melatonin, and I have felt that they've helped over a period of a month, taking them for a month. So my final sleep hygiene thing is no light-bearing technology in the room that you're sleeping in, all right? So have an Alexa. I have an Alexa as my alarm clock if I need it. So, you know, the Amazon Echo. I have a clock, a digital clock that I can see if I need to know what the time is. But all my technology is charged outside of the room. And it's, you know, those little LEDs as well that can pop out from whatever it is that you're charging, like my headphones have them. So they can be quite annoying. If you wake up in the middle of the night to go for a wee and you see one of those LEDs, it can sort of aggravate your nervous system or spark a little bit of activity in you. So you want to avoid that at all costs. If you can go to the toilet with your eyes closed, that's better. So the only thing that should be happening in your bed is sleep, sex, and a little bit of light reading if you need to. So it's when we start doing things in bed that are not related to relaxation that we form an anchor. So anchors are all about, you know, the mind remembers the feeling and a place. So if you go back to a place that you've not been to for a long time, you will instantly be transported to the feeling. So you want to have the feeling of the bed being the sacred sleep space, not the stressy workplace or watching an adrenaline-fueled film in bed. So that's the anchor that we want to create for the bedroom. Okay, so my second tip is go to bed at the same time every single night and try to wake up at the same time every single morning. Even on weekends, all right, because the mind loves what is familiar. Now, this, to a lot of people, sounds really, really challenging, especially if their schedules are all over the place. But now, in isolation, in lockdown, this is a really, really, really good time to practice this because there are no distractions. You can get into a brilliant rhythm of going to bed at a certain time, waking up at a certain time. This is absolutely fantastic for keeping your schedules, keeping and creating healthy habits like waking up early and meditating, or waking up early and doing your exercise. So it's just what the brain likes. The brain likes patterns, the brain likes cycles, and again, it's an anchor. So going to bed a few hours before midnight is really key here, especially if you're looking to improve your sleep. So each hour of sleep before midnight, they say, is worth 2 hours. So if you can get to bed at 9 o'clock and fall asleep at 9 o'clock, and you wake up at 3, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, that's 6 hours. That's quite good. But those hours you've had before midnight count as 2. So that's what often happens to me. I often go to bed at like 9 or 10 and then wake up at 3 or 4. And then from that sort of time, I'm kind of dozing until about 6 o'clock, maybe 5 or 6, and then I'll get up. So getting to bed before midnight is really, really good for you if you can train that in. I mean, some people, you know, their sleep patterns, they do tend to a little bit later, but you might want to give it a go if you are having issues. And then creating a bedtime routine, which is again, it's patterns, it's familiarity. So creating a bedtime ritual that really, really works for you. So maybe getting into your PJs, maybe taking a warm bath or a warm shower, brushing your teeth, settling down in the front room, watching a good film or your favourite TV programme, and just remembering that nothing too adrenaline fueled. So we don't want to be watching Die Hard or Blade Runner or The Fast and the Furious at that time of night. We want to be watching, light-hearted stuff that's not got too much adrenaline in. My favourite's Big Bang Theory. I watch that every night now, and my brain just knows that once Big Bang Theory is coming on, it starts to gently release that melatonin and I start to feel sleepy, very, very sleepy. And often I do fall asleep on the sofa. I try not to, but often I do. But it's okay. I know now how to wake myself up from the sofa without jolting myself. So if you do fall asleep on the sofa, really make sure that when you wake up, you're maintaining that softness, that sleepiness, and you just fall into bed. The other thing I have is a red light next to my bed. And red light is the opposite of blue light on the spectrum. And it's really, really soothing for overstimulation of screens. The last thing to say about that is, if you're having challenges going to bed at the same time and waking up, this is really about setting boundaries. If there are other people who are preventing you from doing that in your family, again, setting those boundaries, being firm in your boundaries. What do you need for you? Because if you're happy, everyone else is happy. Okay, hope that makes sense. So my next one, number 3, feel all the feels, feel everything. So really, really be present with yourself. So as I said before, isolation and menopause are very similar in that they both create space for what is already there to come up and out, right? So declining sex hormones plus no distractions. Oh my God, there's an emotional melting pot of unresolved crap waiting to be dealt with. And usually people do that with their therapist, but sometimes we can't. So most people are really struggling with this at the moment, and they are reaching for their drug of choice to push those feelings back down, to put the lid on the cauldron of bubbling feelings. And while I think that sometimes it's okay to do that, why not just lift the lid a little bit and deal with what is there? Because at some point in your life, you are going to have to deal with these difficult emotions. Okay, so they are tricky. Emotions are tricky. Often we don't want to feel them, but often that's the very thing that we need to do. So this is about just letting them come up and out. Crying if you need to cry. Embracing what's already there. Don't make your feelings wrong. Sadness is okay. Frustration is okay. Hurt, pain is okay. Genuine feelings of uncertainty, having a little wobble, having a little panic, it's okay. When we resist those feelings, when we put lids on those feelings, they perpetuate, because what you resist persists. So it's better to take the lid off. In some cases, it's better to rip the Band-Aid off and just go to the feeling. Feel all the feels, do the inner work, reach out to me if you need to reach out to me, or another therapist or another counsellor, or just create the space for yourself to let your feelings out. Maybe you want to journal your feelings. Maybe you want to put on some sad music. But whatever you do, try not to bury feelings down, because at some point in your life, they will come back up again. That's for sure. And at some point, you will have to do the inner work. So my 4th point is do the inner work. Call a ceasefire on the war that's going on in your mind, in the war that's going on in yourself, in your emotions. So what is it that you're not making right? What is it that you're not able to accept? What is it that you're not able to surrender to, open up to, move towards? What are you turning your back on? Because these difficult emotions, they're like little children that need love and attention. If you're turning your back on them, you're basically ignoring a child. So we don't want to do that. We want to really get to the bottom of the pain that we're feeling. And actually RTT is one of the most brilliant ways we can do that, because RTT doesn't just address what's going on now. RTT goes right back into the past and looks at all of the issues, the fears, and looks at where they've come from. It looks at your vulnerability. It looks at your powerlessness, your inbuilt sense of hurt. It looks at where they came from. You know, I recently had some RTT, and I went back to a scene that was my mum being very, she was crying. She felt like she had nobody. And it made me feel very hurt and upset for her. And I didn't know how to console her at the time. And I felt very defensive. And I felt like I knew more than her, even though I was 20 and she was in her 40s. I felt like I knew more because I've always been into spirituality. And I think I started my own counselling at like 18, just because I was fascinated in it, not because there was anything particularly wrong with me. Well, there probably was, but yeah. And so I felt really frustrated with her. And actually that frustration and that defensiveness was pain, because I didn't want her to feel those feelings. It made me feel like there was something wrong with me because I couldn't help her. I felt like a failure. And because I felt like a failure, I think I've spent a lot of my life trying to not feel like a failure by trying to overachieve. But also I felt so desperate. I felt like I wanted to take all of her pain away. And in doing so, decided to take it all on myself. As an empath, you would do that, especially if it's with a parent. So you take it all on to exonerate them. But of course it doesn't work. All you're doing is just taking on sadness, stress and pain. And yeah, eventually, you know, I had to let it go. I had to say, right, no more. That's your stuff. And I don't need to struggle anymore with this. And actually, when I let go of the struggle, and it was a big letting go process, I started sleeping better. So doing the deep childhood inner work stuff, if you're not sleeping, if sleep is an issue for you, then you might want to consider having something like RTT, and you can reach out to me whenever you like. We can have a phone call. No, you don't have to book. We can just have a phone call. We can have a consultation, whatever you like. So you can see my website is up there. You can contact me through my website. Okay, so number 5, implement a stress reduction technique on the daily. Okay, so one thing I learned recently from a psychiatrist friend of mine is that insomnia is less about what you do at night time, although that is important, but more about what you do all through the day, every day. So this is the stress reduction piece that I was telling you about. Okay, so your daytime reflects your nighttime. How you wake up is how you go to bed. How you go to bed is how you wake up. It's a cycle. So what we need to do is to get that stress under control. And I've got 2 things that I think will really help you. One is deal with your problems. Deal with the issues. Deal with the issues as they arise. Don't procrastinate, because when you procrastinate, you create overwhelm. When you create overwhelm, you don't know where to start. If you are in overwhelm right now, just start with one thing, because that will make you feel better. And then when you feel better, you will feel more able to then start with the next thing. So taking action helps you to avoid overwhelm. So that's my first thing. Take some action to reduce stress, right? If you're taking too much action, number 2, meditate. Take some time out, remove yourself from all of that action and do some inaction. So what happens is the mind loves what is familiar. And it always takes you towards what is familiar and it rejects the unfamiliar. So if inaction is familiar, you are going to do more inaction stuff. You're going to procrastinate more. If action is really, really familiar, so overworking, you're going to do more and more and more of that. And relaxing is going to be really unfamiliar and it's going to feel weird and you're not going to want to do it. So whichever place you're in, you've got to take yourself, you've got to do the unfamiliar to switch a little bit. So that's why meditation is really difficult for overachievers. But people who procrastinate tend to love meditation. They can just sit there and it's very easy for them. So you can be one of, you know what camp you're in, you know what you need to do. So if you are a busy person, you're a workaholic, you like distraction, you are always out there, meditation offers an opportunity to come in here. Sorry, I've got a really itchy nose. Now, I do something called the Z technique, which is, you can research it online, but it's basically like 5 minutes of mindfulness and then 10 minutes of a mantra, which induces a trance-like state. I have found that quite challenging, I'll be honest, but I am able to do it and take my mind to a quieter place, a stiller place. Now, if you're not in that place where you can do that, I would advise doing hypnosis recording. And I have a free one. And if you haven't downloaded it yet, then you really, really need to. I'll put the link up there or down there if you're on YouTube. And you can download that for yourself. It's really very current. It's all about embracing uncertainty, but it induces a deep relaxation where your brain waves can relax and go into that theta state. Now, when you go to sleep at nighttime, your brain needs to cross over the theta into the delta. So if you're not used to being in that theta state, it's going to be unfamiliar. So your mind is automatically going to reject it. So you need to it's like training your mind for sleep. So relaxing those brain waves coming out of the coming out of the beta, going into the theta. And when you're in theta, when you're in true, slower theta, you don't actually know you're in it. You're in that halfway house between awake and sleep. And it's so deeply restorative. And your mind and your body remembers that feeling. And it can very, very easily take you back to it at night time. And then you can drop off into delta much, much more easier. So really making sure that you have some kind of stress reduction technique happening for yourself every day, that you can use some kind of mindfulness where you can switch off, reduce those stress hormones, engage the parasympathetic nervous system, tonify the vagus nerve, so that you're not trying to get to sleep from being stuck up there on the ceiling, right? You need to peel yourself off the walls, get yourself down, get yourself grounded, get yourself relaxed. This is part of the reason why the bedtime routine is so important, because it helps you to wind down. Okay, number 6 then, forget about sleep. So this was something that I really had to implement because I had a big issue around sleep. I was thinking about sleep all the time. I was worried that I wouldn't get to sleep, and lo and behold, I would be fighting with myself at night time. Be like, see, told you wouldn't be able to sleep. And then I'd drop off and I'd wake myself up because I wanted to see if I was getting to sleep. How crazy and stupid and ironic was that? It was a deep conflicted paradox, which I've managed to get myself out of, which is fantastic. So I don't think about sleep anymore. The best way to overcome it is to stop freaking out about sleep, to stop worrying about sleep, and just let it go, basically. Now, I think the thing that really helped me to forget about sleep was knowing that my body would sleep if it was tired enough. Because I used to have like bouts of insomnia for sort of 2 weeks where for the most part, I wouldn't be sleeping. However, after say 2 or 3 nights of not sleeping, I would go to sleep because my natural process would take over and it would knock me out. And then I would not sleep and not sleep and not sleep, and then I would sleep again. So where was I with this? So trusting that eventually you will sleep because your body will knock you out. It's really good to have that in mind because that will help you stop worrying about sleep. So anytime that little sleep worry bean does come into your mind, one of the things that really helped me, especially in the middle of the night, was to say, it's okay. It's okay to worry about sleep. It's normal to worry about sleep, but you don't need to worry about sleep because sleep will happen for you. And there's this idea as well that you don't go to sleep. There's nowhere to go. And sleep actually comes to you. So sleep is all about letting go of control, surrendering. And if you're the kind of person that likes to be in control, to feel like you have everything in your grip, can be really, really tricky for you to let go. And often that can be underpinned by some trauma. So that's why we can look at that in RTT. If you are having trouble sleeping and it's having an impact on your daily life, maybe your ability to work as well, then honestly really consider having some RTT. It's amazing. Okay, so a couple of little bonuses for you then before we wrap up. Bonus number 1, get tantric. So when you slide into your bed at night, do some bed swimming. So I really love this idea of just getting under the covers and really appreciating the feeling of the covers in your bed. So take the time to sprawl, take the time to just wriggle around and bring your mind into the sense of your skin so that you can feel that juicy, gorgeous, wonderful feeling of the sheets against your skin. And it's all about pleasure. It's tantric. It's tuning into that sense of touch. And it's a very soothing sense. You know, when we're touched, we feel safe, and we need to feel safe in order to sleep. And I think that's a lot of the issue that we're facing at the moment, is that, you know, perhaps we don't feel safe in lockdown right now. We don't know what's going to happen to the world. We feel in the world rather. We feel uncertain. We don't know how we're going to be financially. So there's fear, and there is a sense of not feeling safe. But really, you know, we can't control these things. These are outside of our control. And everything that I'm giving you now is in your control. So the only thing that you can do is do what you can for yourself to help you feel safer, and actually getting in touch with your skin and feeling those sheets against your skin will induce a feeling of safety, or can, not will, it can induce a feeling of safety. And having a little, sometimes having a little rock as well, if you do feel particularly anxious, you know, it's like rocking yourself to sleep. That's quite nice too. So if you can't sleep, this is my bonus tip number 2. If you can't sleep, then get up. Even if you don't want to, just get up, go to the loo or get a drink and then go back to bed. Because if you lay there frustrated and awake, what you do is you practice not being able to sleep. And if you, the more, again, you know, what you focus on grows. What you practice, you get better at. So if you're laying there not sleeping, you're going to be practicing, you're going to be embedding that into your behavior. So if you're not sleeping, just get up, go to the loo or get a drink, come back to bed and then start again. Now, what I want you to do, this is sleep tip number 3, is when you do slide back into bed, stop resisting the fact that you can't sleep. Make it okay that you can't sleep. So just say to yourself, it's okay that I can't sleep. Like, how would you talk to a baby or a child? It's okay. Don't worry. It's okay that you can't sleep. Or if you are worrying, it's okay to worry that you can't sleep. Anybody would worry in your situation. It's fine to worry. It's fine to feel overwhelmed. It's okay to overthink. You're doing the best you can. So what you're doing there is you're using language to soothe yourself, so self-soothing language. And it's about making what is okay. So rather than saying I should be able to sleep, why the hell am I worrying about sleeping? This shouldn't be happening. Oh my God, I'm going to be so tired in the morning. It's just about giving in to the now, giving into what is. And my final bonus tip is try relaxing each body part. So if you're in bed and you've done your self-soothing language, just try focusing on separate body parts and switch them off, a bit like you would do in Yoga Nidra. So just turning each body part off individually, starting with your foot, starting with your leg. Make your leg go really heavy, because again, what you focus on, wherever you focus, your attention goes. And there's this wonderful thing when we do Yoga Nidra, when we focus on different parts of our body, we have the ability to relax into the muscles and into the nerves. And we want to get our bodies as heavy, as limp, as loose as possible. So what we can do is that just gently focusing on each body part, send it to sleep. It's a body thing. It's not a mind thing. The more you can make your body feel heavy, the more likely you are to be able to sleep, because your body, your subconscious process will take over. So the part of you that beats your heart, the part of you that breathes for you, the part of you that is automatic can be allowed to take over, and you will just go to sleep without thinking about it. So I hope you found that useful. Let me know what you thought in the comments, and I'll see you next week for some more menopause, mental health and isolation stuff. All right, ladies or guys, take care. See you next week. Bye.